Hellboy was a decent movie, but had a number of flaws. I thought it was overall very disjointed and erratic in its storytelling, and that's something that essentially made it hard to watch. I also thought that this movie had better graphics than the old Guillermo del Toro movies, but I think that that was not enough to make this a better movie than either of those. I also thought this movie was gross for the sake of being gross because they tried to ride the line between rated R and rated X rather than try to come closer to a PG-13 type of release. In fact, I think this movie would have been better served by being a PG-13 flick. The guy who played Hellboy I thought was perfect. I think that he could have actually been put into a third Guillermo del Toro Hellboy movie, and I think he could have pulled it off. I think he did the best that he could with what the writers, directors, and producers gave him, and I think he is personally, in my opinion, the saving grace of this film. I thought Mila Jovovich was similarly fully committed to her character. However, I think it was badly scripted within a movie that had kind of a wishy-washy story. I thought the actress who played the Doctor Who sidekick, I don't remember her name, but I thought she was pretty good. And I think her ability to see the future just a few seconds in advance, plus the ability to summon dead people out of her mouth and punching souls out of zombies, didn't really give me the idea that she is an action hero or belonged with the other characters in this film in fighting the ultimate demons throughout the film. I thought the Asian guy who played this were-cheetah was pretty cool, but I think the first half of the film where he was in, I was honestly not terribly interested in the character until towards that last act where he got to sort of become something more significant. I think it's really hard for human characters to stand out in a sea of monsters in a monster movie, basically, and that was kind of an issue with anyone that wasn't Hellboy in basically sustaining my personal interest throughout the film. Two important things about any movie you see are going to be characters and stories. And so I thought the characters were done from decent to really good with Hellboy, but I think that the story itself was too clunky and disjointed for me to enjoy this film, and I just felt like things were just sort of thrown in together. I'll just mention the opening fight scene that took place in a wrestling ring, and you see this very early on. It made no sense. And there were other scenes like that throughout the film. And what made things worse is I couldn't understand a lot of what was being said in a number of these scenes, particularly in that wrestling scene. And it was just very hard to hear the dialogue. And some of the times they broke into non-English language, either real or unreal, like Latin or some sort of demonic language. So I just couldn't understand what was being said. And so that sort of broke my experience with enjoying the film in some cases. I don't really see why this needed to be a rated R film. I think that it could have been a PG-13 film and been a better movie. I think too often violence, language, and gore were so over the top in this film that it just became less enjoyable and less relatable. And there was just so much gore that was over the top that they focused on at the extent of everything else that I think it actually detracted from the film. And the storytelling suffers because while you're thrown into this world where all the characters know each other and there's, less of a discovery experience that the characters that you're watching, the protagonists, are going through. So like when Hellboy goes through some sort of portal to this other world and bumps into a character that he's old friends with, essentially, he doesn't discover this character. You are discovering this character. And so it sort of loses a little bit of the appeal of, hey, here's this new experience. What's going on? He doesn't get to share that experience with you. It's, oh, I'm here. And, oh, I'm going to talk with this person. Now I'm going to have this dialogue. So I thought there were a lot of scenes in this film where everyone knew each other. And so you're just sort of used to this world where humans and monsters just coexist, but they hate each other, but they all know each other. So it was just less of a wow and interesting experience because of that. Also, the most climactic scenes in the movie are essentially dream sequences that are only hinted at, this may occur, and then that's for a few seconds, and then you're back in the real world where that kind of extreme experience is not really going to happen. And even the cutting edge moments in the very end of the scene of the movie, I should say, it's like too little too late. And the CGI and the budget and everything that went into these dream sequences could have actually been put into the actual final act of the film and made it better. So too often you'll see films where they put the best parts in the front or in the middle when you need to build up to something. And so that's one of the mistakes that this film did. Also, a lot of this just seemed thrown together in an attempt to world build, by creating a certain atmosphere of humans and monsters living together, or they went into this series building by giving the audience a heads up of what's to come maybe in future films. And I think they could have spent more time in this film with things that occurred then to build a better movie. And I just want to bring up this point. Just because something exists in the comic books does not mean that something is good and needs to be translated into the movie. And that's what I think is what happened here. And I think that they could have spent more time discovering what happened throughout this film and let you learn along with the characters, rather than just saying, hey, we're in the middle of this world and here's all these threads that are going to build into other movies that may or may not happen. Good luck. And so anyways, I thought Hellboy was a decent film. I thought the strengths were in some of the actors. I just think that the story was designed in such a way to where the actors were put in a position to where they couldn't shine, or no matter what they did, they couldn't salvage the overall experience. That's going to do it for my review of Hellboy. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.